ago, I was invited to Holly's wedding. It was no ordinary event. You see, Holly has mild cognitive impairment, and she's also the oldest of 3 children with special needs in the family. In that wedding, in addition to their immediate family, those who were invited were people, according to Holly's parents, who had made a difference in their lives. There were no dry eyes as Holly's father walked her down the aisle, as well as when later he reflected on special moments as well as challenges they had faced. I was honored to be considered someone who had made a difference as well as to be invited at the wedding. I'm also proud of my role as their advisor in their children's special needs planning. I would now like to ask all of you to take a moment and think about friends, families, colleagues, and clients who you know that has a family member or a child with special needs. Many of you may have been able to identify a few people in your network that has some connection with some people who has people in the family with disability. This population is large and is underserved. It is a very unique niche, and this population really needs our help. I'd now like to take you on my journey of working with special needs families. Starting a new career as a financial planner 35 years ago for an immigrant woman was not a cakewalk. Discipline, hard work, and an accepting clientele made it possible for me to establish a successful career as a comprehensive planner. 10 years into the business, however, that was not enough for me. I needed more. I had started with young families and professionals who were just beginning their careers, leading to clients who were automotive engineers, small business owners, and physicians. They had similar objectives and somewhat similar solutions. I needed something that was a little bit more challenging, complex, and perhaps something that offered me a greater level of satisfaction. I looked for opportunities beyond what I was doing, but couldn't find anything quite what I was looking for in our industry. Then, in 1989, 3 different families, I met them for their regular financial planning, and during fact-finding, I discovered that each one of them had an adult child with disability. They had different disabilities. There was mental retardation, Down syndrome, and paranoid schizophrenia. These children would never be completely emancipated and would always need care and supervision. The parents had no idea how to plan for their future or who could help them with the planning. I had no knowledge or planning solution to offer them either. That's when it dawned on me that this may be the unique opportunity I was looking for, a planning area to consider and explore. It was also providence. The fact that my niece had autism had always been in the back of my mind and made me very aware of the planning needs of these families. After a lot of thinking, I made a decision to work towards developing this subspecialty within my practice of special needs planning. Unfortunately, in 1989, nobody knew anything about special needs planning. A handful of attorneys in our area were knowledgeable about creating legal documents, but they were not involved in planning matters. There were no books written or articles published for me to learn from either. My desperate search for somebody who could teach me this led me to Phyllis Kramer, an advisor in Boston area who at that time had been working in this area for about 8 years. After months of discussion, we agreed on a business plan to begin special needs planning in the Detroit area. That was 25 years ago. A lot has happened since then. To become an expert in special needs required learning about various aspects of planning, learning about the different disabilities and characteristics of developmental disabilities, mental illness, and physical disabilities was necessary and yet quite challenging. And remember, we didn't have Google or internet back then. For me, in addition to Phyllis's guidance, I needed intense self-study and regular interaction and networking with knowledgeable and trained professionals from both the medical world as well as from the special needs organizations. Learning about the various complex government benefits that every special need individual needed to qualify for, such as the SSI, SSDI, Medicaid, and Medicare, was a lot of work. Putting together the financial and estate plans for the parents that needed to last beyond the parents' lifetime was hard. These families needed all of the regular financial planning that every family needs. Special needs planning would be the added component to provide the much needed security for a loved one who would never be completely emancipated. Special needs families come from all walks of life. They are successful business owners, executives, physicians, assembly line workers, teachers, and farmers. Disabilities do not spare any socioeconomic groups. Also, no two families are alike in their family values, culture, financial status, nor are their children with disabilities. In order to help them, knowing about the family is a very important criteria. I learned early on that I had to master the art of fact-finding by keeping a balance between sensitivity and objectivity. Finding one family at a time to build this practice was going to be very time-consuming. I needed to look for areas and organizations where I could find and meet with these families. I approached the directors of special education of almost all of the school districts in our area, along with school psychologists, social workers, as well as many of the special needs organizations such as the Alliance for Mentally Ill, the Down Syndrome Society, the Williams Syndrome Association, and so on. I offered to provide an educational workshop to the parents on long-term planning strategies for the future of a person with disability. They had never heard of a presentation like this before, nor had they ever been approached by an advisor who knew special needs planning. This market was untapped, and these families were hungry for information. I made my first presentation in December 1990, 18 months after I had first thought of working in this area. Our presentation including importance of qualifying for the government benefits, special needs trust, guardianship issues, coordination of financial and estate planning, and a lot more. It was in plain English, it was informative and motivational. Parents began to come for their consultation, followed by planning and implementation. More workshops followed on a regular basis, including national conventions of many of these organizations. Our industry also took notice of this rare specialty, and I had opportunities to publish articles in various magazines and business journals, as well as make presentation at MDRT, NIFA, as well as Financial Planning Association. Advisors began to approach me from various parts of the country for joint work, and they still do. As a business owner, I was able to keep a balance between my regular practice and the special needs part. Economically, it was profitable. I had received national recognition, but above all, I was able to add a component to my practice that was immensely satisfying to me on a personal level. I was able to provide peace of mind to so many families. They did not always have a perfect solution, but they had a plan for the long term, and that was a huge relief for them. I also found that I often acted as a psychologist, a social worker, put myself in their shoes as a parent, but remained objective as an advisor. In addition, working with these families has taught me patience, forced me to be a skilled planner, and helped me to be a good counselor. In the last 25 years, my firm has counseled over 1,000 families nationwide in their special needs planning. I have learned a lot about these families. They are amazing people. Their ability to overcome their initial shock and disappointment of having a child with disability is just the start. I've observed their unconditional and intense love for their child, the patience they have to have, the frustration they experience, the educational challenge of their child, the doctors and therapists appointment, balancing between the needs of the other children, their career demands, and the financial pressures are all overwhelming and exhausting, and yet they continue to manage. Some families fall apart. A lot of marriages fail, but they survive and they move on. They have no choice, but it helps when they know that they have a plan. I've also learned that these families do not need our pity. They need our understanding. They don't want us to feel sorry for them, but they will appreciate our empathy. These parents also have their dreams and aspirations. As their advisors, we have to help them support their mission. Their dreams are not always about a college degree and marriage. The dreams circle around the finishing school, finding some kind of employment, and safe residential solution so that they are not a burden on their siblings and other family members. Since I began working with these families, a lot of changes have taken place. Media and technology has made it possible to create a lot more awareness among people about the special needs families. Today, the population with disability is one of the largest. Every school district has almost 10% of the students enrolled in special education, including learning disability. They're also living a lot longer than they ever did before, requiring any planning that has been done for them to be monitored for years to come. My practice also has come a full circle. Planning that was done years ago for families, many of these parents have passed away. Their children and other family members are maintaining the plan. A lot of death claims have been paid from estates as well as insurance to fund the special needs trust that was created. Planning has now moved on to advising on housing, advocacy, and training of the future trustee. As you can see, special needs planning is unique and can be very rewarding. Not too many advisors have ventured into this field, and this population remains underserved. Yes, this planning is difficult and can be challenging, but good advisors will be able to provide the much needed direction to the families through the various strategies that are available. I am fortunate and very blessed to have had the opportunity to develop this niche and work with hundreds of very special families. I'm also grateful for the early help, education, and guidance that was provided by Phyllis Kramer 25 years ago. I'm also very appreciative of my two partners, Mehul and Eleanor, for their commitment to carry the torch forward and continue to work with these families. As I come to a close, I again ask you to think about friends, family, colleagues, and clients who has been touched by a special need family member and how you can support them, how you can make it possible for them to be emancipated. Together, we can continue to make a difference.